I just want to give a really brief kind of background of me and who I am and what I've done. And I'm going to do that through talking about these 12 points. Because what I'd like to do is move on to some internet advertising and some other things that I've done that have been a big part of my success and our success, and that I really think you guys, being freshmen and sophomores and 10 years younger than me, really have an opportunity to capture what didn't exist 10 years ago or 15 years ago was totally unheard of. So I want to move on to some of that, and then I'll take a whole bunch of questions at the end for anything that you guys have. The first thing on my list of 12 points is that whatever you do, you have to bring it to them. You can't expect them to come to you. And what I mean by that is I'm a pianist, and I like to say give a concert. Well, it's a lot more difficult to give a concert and expect people to buy tickets and come to my concert. So instead, what would be easier is to bring my music to the people that would enjoy it. And so that's the first point. I won't expand on it too much. The second one is follow the opportunity. Every day we walk by people and things and meet people, visit various places, and there's different opportunities that we see. Well, those opportunities, if you're willing to take the risk, are something that you can make a living from. One thing that was big in my life, I'll go back and give the introduction now. My brother and I play the piano. We're from Minneapolis, just a small rural town, and as Matt said earlier, we don't come from a lot of money, and our parents weren't celebrities, so I was in the same position as a lot of people that have to really take a risk. So we're from a small town, we both play the piano, and we both went to Notre Dame, and that's where we got started. And when I was a junior at Notre Dame, I was interviewing for a marketing job, because that was my major, and I loved marketing and I loved music. And I was in my first interview for a summer internship with Hallmark, marketing greeting cards and whatever else. And in the interview, in the back of my mind, I was thinking, geez, it would be really cool to get back then it was a cassette, the first one that I recorded of my piano music. It'd be great to get my cassettes into Hallmark stores. So I'm thinking that in the back of my mind. I wasn't even thinking about, selling things for Hallmark. So in the back of my mind, I knew I wanted to work for myself. So anyways, the idea of following the opportunity, what I wanted to talk about for that example is my junior year from Notre Dame, the summer after it, I was reading the Star-Tribune in Minneapolis, and in the Star-Tribune there was an article about how a piano player played the piano in Dayton stores, which was Marshall Field's and is now Macy's, and she was able to sell 100 CDs in an hour, sitting playing the piano. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's an opportunity. So what I did after I graduated from Notre Dame the year later is I came up with the idea of putting a piano into JCPenney stores. And JCPenney is a big point of what we've done in our past, and it ties into a lot of the 12 points. So I'm going to move on to point number 3, which may shock you, but it's don't set goals. And what I mean by that, a lot of my friends say you're crazy, people should set goals, and I don't think goals are bad. But what I do think is that if you get so locked into one path, and say I have a goal that I want to, play the piano in JCPenney stores, and I want to play, 4 hours a day, and I want to play 6 days a week. Well, if something happens and some big opportunity presents itself, I'm going to be so locked in on that goal that I'm not going to see the opportunity. So I think early on, you should have some kind of benchmarks, but you got to be willing to switch paths quickly and go for that opportunity. So I'm going to say don't set goals kind of half-heartedly. I think you should have benchmarks, but just be ready to change paths quickly. The fourth thing, which is one of the most important, I call it no risk for them. So what I mean by that is when I read in the Star-Tribune that, oh my gosh, this lady sold 100 CDs an hour, sitting playing the piano, I could totally do that. So what I thought of is I can do this in JCPenney stores, a different department store, but in order to be successful, I have to make it not risky at all for JCPenney. So let's just say you're a manager of a JCPenney store. What's your first name?
Chris.
Chris, all right. So you're the manager of a JCPenney store, And every square foot of space, you expect to sell something. It's valuable space. If you're selling shoes or jewelry or whatever, it's all valuable. So if I come in, this is the first approach, which I didn't do because this is risky for you. If I came in and I said, "Hi, Chris, my name is Tim O'Neill. Good to meet you. I have this idea of putting a piano in your jewelry section. Well, the piano, it's going to cost $1,000 a month.
No,
No, get out. Nice. Well, yeah, I would have charged you for a piano. I would have said, you know what? And I want to make $50 an hour because that usually piano players get $100 an hour in Nordstrom's. So yeah, immediately that's what he would have been. You're wasting my time. So instead, what I did, so I said, "Hey, Chris, Tim O'Neill." I said, "Do you know what Nordstrom is doing right across the way? They have a piano player, and they actually bought their piano. It's an $80,000 piano. And they have a pianist that plays it, and they pay him $100 an hour." Because I knew this, I'd talked to some people that I knew that worked at Nordstrom's. And I said, and there's all kinds of market research on how classy that piano makes the store look, and it makes women buy more jewelry in the jewelry department. It really ups how classy the store is. And so I said, "Chris, I tell you what, how about if I get you a grand piano for free? You can put it wherever in the store you'd like it, and I'm going to sit down and play it for free, and we're going to have CDs that we're going to sell that's actually going to create revenue. What do you think?"
Make it $25 an hour. You're there.
Make it, well, and I'm not even, well, sure, you can pay me if you'd like, but I wasn't even asking to be paid. I'll play totally for free. So that point was, he said yes, because there's no risk for them. So that's one of the most important things, that you have to think of it not from your perspective. I want to make $100 an hour. I want to make this. I want to make that. Think of it from the other person's perspective, and then that's how you'll be most successful. The fifth thing on my list is partnerships equal success. And it might sound simple, but yet, when you really think about it, it's hard to do something on your own. But if you can create a partnership, it's a lot easier. So with JCPenney, the cool thing is there's 1,300 JCPenney stores across the country. And so because I had success in one JCPenney store, what I did is I not only partnered with JCPenney, but I partnered with the piano company to give the piano to the JCPenney store. So I created a partnership with the music store, Schmidt Music, because they wanted to sell pianos. So it was good for the piano dealer because they were selling pianos, and it wasn't even a regular piano, it was a player piano, where the keys moved so that when I wasn't there, I could record my music onto the player piano and it would play. And JCPenney loves it, they're getting a free piano. The piano store loves it because they're getting advertising, and I love it because I'm able to play and sell my CDs. But then what was even cooler is we started getting calls from other JCPenney stores, because there's 1,300 of them, because I'd created this partnership with JCPenney. And they said, "Are you the guys that'll bring us a free piano?" Chris was talking to John at the monthly meeting, and Chris said, "Yeah, it's really cool. We got this piano, and the women love it. They come in and they buy extra rings, and our jewelry sales have increased." So what we did is we put the player piano in, started in Minneapolis, 5 different stores, and then we got a call from Chicago, and there were 14 JCPenney stores. After about a year and a half, we had 250 player pianos playing in all of these JCPenney stores. So that's where my brother entered the picture and would travel around and play and sell CDs, and it ended up being a great program. But that's one of the biggest things, is partnerships equal success, because it's hard to do things on your own. So just think about who you can partner with to help your success. The sixth thing on my list is figure out what's working and do more of it, and figure out what's not working and stop doing it and move on. And it sounds like a simple point, but sometimes you get so wrapped up into what you're doing that you don't really think about, is this successful or is it not? I just love to play the piano, and I'm going to sit in JCPenney. Well, I didn't sell any CDs today, but it was fun to play for 4 hours. Well, if that would have been the case, I probably should have moved on to something else, but it was very successful. And in fact, in the first day, in 2 hours, we ended up selling like 60 CDs. And so I knew that it was going to be successful. So find out what's working and do it. If it's not working, be willing to look for another opportunity and take a risk with that. The seventh thing on my list is enthusiasm and optimism. So entering that, and again, it sounds simple, but Enthusiasm goes a long way, even at a conference like this. You can tell somebody that walks up to you and they're like, "Hi, I'm Tim." You know, and it's okay to be shy. Shy is one thing, but if somebody comes up to you, "Hey, Christopher, where are you from?" You know, kind of create some interest or some enthusiasm. You want to talk to people that are enthusiastic. Well, it goes a long way, whether you're talking with a friend or a business person or whomever. They can tell if you're enthusiastic if you're talking on the phone or if you meet them in person. So remind yourself of that often, because nobody likes a dud, somebody that's just having a bad day, because you're probably not going to make something happen that day. The eighth thing, things take time. So if you want something right away, like I was talking to a lady in the hall, she has a book and she just wants it to be, she has it, but she wants to find a publisher, and I'm sure it'll happen. It's just that things always take longer than what you hope would happen. And so one of the hardest things is to stick with it if you know there's opportunity, because eventually it'll pay off. Like with JCPenney, you know, it took me one phone call and they didn't answer, like, you know, Chris didn't pick up the call. Like, piano, we don't need piano, whatever. And so I had to call again and call a third time. So that persistence is really important.
I'd like to ask about, you mentioned that you sold a total of 1 million CDs. That's a total of you have 30 different titles, right?
Mm-hmm.
So over what period of time?
I graduated from Notre Dame in '94.
Okay.
And my first year that I made a tape was back in '92.
Yeah.
So it's over 16 years, and now we're almost at the 2 million point.
Oh, 2
QVC
million.
has really helped accelerate that. So we can't say over 2 million yet, it's close, but so yeah, and again, it's over a long time, a lot of hard work, so about 16 years.
Wow. Were there any other big sales that you haven't mentioned, like where somebody bought tens of thousands in one crack?
Yeah, there were, and that falls under the persistence category. I knew that our wedding CD was great because, not because I think it's great, but because brides have no idea what to have played at their wedding. And I knew that from bride after bride after bride, just like Benji said, you know, brides, they don't know, you know, what to pick. So we recorded a wedding CD, and I knew that it was so great because it was selling well. So I went to a bridal registry, the May department stores, which is Foley's and Marshall Fields. There's about 12 different chains across the country, and said, why don't you give this out as a gift to everybody that registers in your store? I'll give them to you for $1 a piece. Because I knew my cost was only 50 cents a piece. Lady didn't even return my call. 2 weeks later, I emailed her. Week after week after week, I kept calling, kept emailing. After 2 years of contacting this lady, she bought 125,000 wedding CDs.
Wow.
So bang, we're at 1.2 million instead of 1.1 million. So it's the persistence. But that's been the biggest sale that we've done. Yeah, but it didn't come easy. It didn't come, you know, out of nothing but persistence.
They still buy for $1 each?
That was just a one-time thing. We're now trying it with some of the other national, like with Target or with Walmart, to get them, because they all give away registry gifts to brides and grooms that register in stores. So it's just creative ways. We've been on QVC. It's one of the shopping channels that, again, 40, 50-year-old ladies watch. And that was another thing after a lot of hard work. And there's 40 and 50-year-old ladies are great. There's nothing wrong. But we knew that that was a great spot of where we could sell our music. Well, after 2 years of submitting things that we wanted to be on QVC, we finally met someone at a random occurrence and got our music onto QVC. Well, and again, I'll just give you numbers because it still blows my mind, because it just shows that when you find what you love, what are my 3 things? Find what you love, you take the risk, and who's interested in what you love. If you put those 3 things together, you can really do incredible things. And now is the time to think about it, being a freshman or a sophomore, so that when you come senior year, well, we got on QVC in 8 minutes. We sold 4,200 of our CDs. We sold out. So they had us back, and that's how we made the Billboard chart. We beat out like Elvis in a certain week because we were on for a certain show. It was just like, you know, these numbers, but then it's just fine-tuning in on what you do and who's interested in it, and being creative on finding where they're at. Number 9. Meet with people already successful doing what you want to do. And you all are a prime example, and the other, 300 students and people here, and I'm getting as much out of this as you guys are, because talking with Bob, I didn't get to see his presentation, but I plan on going tomorrow. There's a lot of people doing a lot of cool things. And one of the best things to do is find out, let's say, what type of music. You said you play a bunch of different instruments? Yeah. Do you have any idea what you might want to do with all those instruments?
I just want to open my own recording studio, really.
Have you talked to any other studio engineers or people that have their own studio?
Actually, teacher at school is Mark Rubel.
Rings a bell.
He's owns a studio in Champaign. He recorded Alison Krause's album, and he's on the Grammy board. He goes on the Grammy and stuff like that.
All right.
He's a teacher at school, so
cool. Well, that's cool. It's cool that you have teachers that are doing what you love to do and are interested in it. And I didn't catch you in the back in the red. Sorry.
Hi, my name is Elizabeth Bukta, and I'm getting my MFA at Notre Dame in graphic design.
Oh, you are? Master's in
Fine art, graphic
fine
design.
art. Okay, gotcha. MFA. All right. I was a business major, so I don't know all that. All right.
I probably should be, but.
And what do you hope to do with your MFA, or what?
I want to start a school in New Orleans to teach printmaking.
All right. And I got to sit in on the earlier session where you were talking about that. I think it's a great idea. And I can give you the other 12 points. We're on number 9, but have you had any thoughts about, talking with anybody in New Orleans or someone that owns their own print facility?
I used to live there, and I'm kind of still connected. But this dream only happened today, really, because it's something I've always thought about, but I saw it as more in the future. But I'm starting to think maybe I need to think about it more in the nearer future, rather sooner than later or something.
Sure. That's a good tip, and that was the
Am I skipping ahead?
4th thing. No, that's okay. That was the 4th thing on my list. I'm sorry, where's my take the risk? I just wrote these out. But anyways, take the risk is one of the first things. So it's like, because if you don't do it now, you'll get locked into something that might make $30,000 or $40,000, and that's hard to turn down once you start it.
Yeah.
So contact people that are already successful, just like me. I'd love to pick Bob's brain and pick some of the other speakers' brain because they're doing so many successful things, and I can learn just as much as you guys can. Number 10, you got to give things away before you can start to receive. And things can be ideas, it can be your product, it can be your time, it can be your talents. But whatever it is, that's how you're going to really impact people, is by giving things. And just a couple examples for me. Notre Dame, I'm also a Notre Dame graduate.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I went into the Notre Dame development office and I said, because we have a Notre Dame CD, I said, I'd like to donate 200 of these Notre Dame CDs to, my end game was kind of like to meet Regis or to meet some of, Katie Couric or some of the famous alums. I said, so many people give of so many things to Notre Dame that I'd like to give you some of these CDs to, award or, give them out to different top donors to Notre Dame. Well, it ended up that they were just going through a planning process of figuring out what they were going to give to the 5,000 biggest donors of Notre Dame. So what did they do? They said, you know what, we like your CD so much and your idea and your enthusiasm so much. They bought 5,000 CDs from me on the spot for $10 a piece. And I was only, 1 year out of Notre Dame. I'm just like going, but I just wanted to donate 200. And it really was my goal to give CD, to start, because I knew we'd get our name out there and whatever else. And he just said, you know what, I love it. Notre Dame alumni would love it because it's a very focused CD. It's a Notre Dame CD. So that's the point of, give away. And don't have, the end in mind of benefiting from you, but I guarantee that you can't give enough things away. What was the other example I had? Oh yeah, the other thing, we like to do a lot with Habitat for Humanity. How many people are familiar with Habitat for Humanity? Build houses for people that need them. What we wanted to do, because our latest Christmas CD is called Holiday Home, just with random piano Christmas songs. So we're like, Holiday Home, Habitat for Humanity. There's a possibility for like a partnership here for a business relationship. So we went into Habitat for Humanity, and I told them I wanted to donate some CDs for to them to give to some of their volunteers. And sure enough, they they listened to the CD, and that one wasn't on the spot like Notre Dame was. But they said, you know what, we have, this was in Minneapolis, we have a volunteer appreciation event that we would like to do, and we would like you to be the entertainment for it. So that Christmas, which was 2 years ago, we ended up playing a concert in Orchestra Hall in Minneapolis for 2,000 Habitat volunteers and people, and it was, you know, great for us because we're in this beautiful facility. It's the most beautiful venue in Minneapolis, and it was all out of the, you know, generosity of, you know, giving our music to someone that, you know, would really appreciate it, and the volunteers certainly appreciated it. So that's a big one. Got to give things away. Number 11 on the list, don't be intimidated. People are just people. People are just people. Whoever you're talking, Bob is a person, cameraman's a person. We're all, I mean, Christopher might have some problems.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. But no, I mean, everybody's just a person. And sometimes it's hard for me to remember that, you know, if I'm talking to some president of a company or like the general manager in the JCPenney store, you know, my palms were a little sweaty and I'm just like, oh my God, this guy, you know, what if he says no and whatever else. And it was, you know, intimidating for me, but I just had to realize, well, so what if he says no? And so that's really worked well. You know, you just can't be afraid to call someone up because they're whoever they are, whatever their title is, because they're just a person. One thing, we went on a concert tour 2 years ago in February. It was a Valentine's tour, my brother and I playing the piano and 5 or 6 different instrumentalists. Well, 6 months before, we wanted to find a female singer to go with us, because we play the piano and we have instrumentalists, but we wanted a female singer in a red dress to make it a whole romantic show. And so we got together and put together a list of what female singers could we bring with us. And you guys, this may date me, but I hope, do you know who Deborah Gibson is? Debbie Gibson? Yeah. Well, she is my age, 35. And when we, you know, just called her up, I emailed info@deborahgibson.com and just said, hey, we're these guys from Minneapolis. We've sold 1 million CDs and we want to go on tour, and I'm just, you know, don't know what your fee is. But, you know, I had no idea. I mean, my wife, you know, loved Deborah Gibson in high school, and it was like this big intimidating thing. Well, long story short, she said yes. She toured with us for 10 days, and by the end of it, I realized that she's just like a girl next door that, yeah, she's Debbie Gibson, who's now Deborah Gibson, but she's just a person who needs something to do. And so it's not being afraid to make phone calls. So that's a really big one. The last one I have on my list is creativity, which heard over and over and over and over, and the lady next to me, Denise, who is just in here, has a website. Can't think of what it is offhand, but creativity is something you hear over and over, because whether artists are more creative than the average person or we're just more willing to use it and take the risk, it's something that we've been blessed with, and so it's like really trying to capture that and not being afraid to use it. And creativity also comes in on not only what you make in terms of, you know, an art or sculpture or music, but thinking of creative ways on how to get that art or sculpture out to the people. And so certainly sitting in a department store, you know, it's not the most glamorous thing. You know, it's not like playing in Orchestra Hall. It eventually got us there, but it was a creative way, you know, to sit in the ladies' dresses and sell CDs and then realize, well, I can only, you know, play on one piano at a time. Let's do player pianos. So then we had 2 player pianos and then 5, and I was able to be in 200 places at once with all these player pianos. That was the creative twist. And then the other thing that I didn't mention, yeah, I guess I'll mention it now. Going back to the what do you love to do, are you willing to take a risk? And who might be interested in what you love to do? Well, what I love to do, I've already said, play piano, travel, sell and market, be creative, work for myself. But then who might be interested in what you love to do? One of the points on my list was taking your thing or your talent, your product, to where those people are. Well, one of the early successes I had, which was very creative, was knowing that my mom, who gave me the idea to record music in the first place, because when I studied abroad at Notre Dame, she said, oh, make a tape of all my favorite songs so I can listen to it while I'm gone. And so when I got back, Mom had made a copy for all of her bridge club friends, church volunteer, whomever. And so then when I got back, I realized that that's who our customer is. It's, you know, 30, 40, 50-year-old females. So the creative on my point number 12 is, well, where do all my mom's friends get together? And what they do is they go to these craft shows. which are kind of like art shows, handmade, really cool kind of things. A lot of things you don't need, but a lot of cool things. So there was the biggest one in Minnesota, in southern Minnesota, that's in a horse barn. And so I went and visited it the first time, and they had no music in this horse barn, but all these, I mean, like 2,000 40, 50-year-old ladies walking around buying things. And I'm like, what a great opportunity. Sure, it's wacky and creative, and I don't know if I really want to do this. Well, I set up a piano in the horse barn, selling my 2 Christmas CDs, and then, well, it was 2 4-day weekends. I sold enough CDs to get a check for $11,000. And I'm just like, this is a great idea to bring my thing to where, my talent to where my mom and all of her friends and all of her similar age group is. So I think all those 12 points, I would challenge you guys, whatever it is that you do, whether it's, sculpture or art or music, to really think through those things, because it's worked for me and it's worked for my brother, and I've talked with some other people to help them through things. So why don't I just talk a little bit now about the internet, because as I mentioned earlier, you guys are in a whole different ball game than Bob and I were 10 years ago or 15 years ago. Bob was on the cutting edge of his whole guerrilla marketing and music marketing, and what applied 12 years ago, some of it still applies, but iTunes wasn't around 12 years ago, and YouTube and everything else. So I would just like to show you some of the opportunities that we've uncovered on the internet, and then still keep some time for questions at the end. So if you think of anything as we go, let me know. One big thing, and I don't know how much you guys know, so I'll just talk kind of basically at first, and then we can get more detailed if you have more questions about it. But one of them is, Google is obviously the big search engine. And the cool thing about Google is what people are looking for. If they're looking for, a recording studio or ringtones, perfect example. If somebody's looking for something, they're going to go to Google and they're going to tell you. So we, through our website, which you saw out there is Piano Brothers, we've kind of figured out, how to optimize the website and put different keywords on the web page that my mom or her friends, or now younger people, because we have different CDs, what they're looking for. And we've done such a great job with this, not necessarily me, because I have no idea how to do it. I just kind of read up on it and found someone that could do it for me. But if you go to Google and type in Music plus Brothers, you would think that like Warner Brothers would come up, or like the Righteous Brothers, or the Doobie Brothers, or the Blues Brothers, or whomever. Oh, and there it is. We're now number 3. We used to be like number 2 or number 1. Or number 3 on the list, or if you even switch it around and do Brothers plus Music, there we are. We're number 1 on the list out of 8.1 million websites. How that exactly happened, I don't know. Nobody knows what Google's analytics are and things. But the reason why I talk about this and why it's such a great opportunity is people all over the world, are using Google. And the cool thing is my wife, who just graduated from law school, spent her last semester in Australia and New Zealand. Well, all throughout New Zealand and all throughout Australia and New Zealand, all throughout Australia and all throughout New Zealand, you go into a little cyber cafe or whatever, and they're on Google, and they're on YouTube, and they're on Facebook. These, people in New Zealand, or you go to Europe, and they're doing the same thing. And so, being number 1 on Google for, there's not that many people searching for Brothers plus Music, but if you enter something like what we've targeted, which is wedding music, because we used to play piano at a lot of weddings, and as you've heard, there's different wedding musicians that are here at the convention. This changes often. I think we're currently like number 6 or 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, there we are, number 7. Well, that's exciting, being number 7 on Google for wedding music, because one website I'd like to show you, which is keyworddiscovery.com, you can look for how many people are searching for a certain keyword. So like for you, let's say you open up a recording studio. Where's your hometown? Champaign, all right. So you could find out how many people are looking for recording studio or recording engineer. And if you can, first you have to make the website, obviously, but then fill it with, a lot of keywords that are, recording space, microphones, everything that people might be searching for, you can come up on the list. Well, this is wedding songs, similar to wedding music, you can see how many people a month are searching for that. There's 35,736, and we're really not even into wedding season yet. The reason why this is cool, and this pertains to whatever you do, if it's music or art or carpet cleaning or anything, internet marketing we'll talk about tomorrow in that panel discussion. But somebody entered wedding music in to Google, came up to our web page, and it just happened to be the biggest brand new 5-star casino in Las Vegas, the Wynn Resort and Casino. They had a marketing company just say, we need something, wedding music to play in our wedding chapel. So they Google wedding music, our site comes up. They contact us about licensing music for their wedding chapel. Well, the guy said, yeah, I have a client that's interested in licensing your wedding music. So immediately I'm thinking opportunity, because he wouldn't say who the client was. So then I asked, they said, well, it's the Wynn Resort and Casino in Las Vegas. And so I knew it was a big opportunity, so I had to call our entertainment lawyer and see what to charge them. Long story short, they paid us like $5,000. We didn't have to do anything but give them permission to play our music. And the cool thing is they gave us 2 free rooms every year for the rest of our life at the Wynn Resort and Casino. All because they found us on Google. And that's what you guys are entering, what didn't exist 10 years ago, that really is a huge opportunity that can be embraced and can't even describe how big of an opportunity is. One last talk on Google, or one last example on Google. Somebody went to Google and entered in lullaby music, because we have a lullaby CD. It's one of our 30 CDs. Well, we come up like number 2 or 3 for lullaby music. Well, that company was Graco, which is one of the big manufacturers of baby products. Well, they needed just 2 lullaby songs to play on their website for 6 months to give away free downloads to anybody that bought a Graco product. Well, again, I had no idea what to charge them, so I talked to our entertainment lawyer, and he said, charge them $10,000. Just throw that number out there, and they'll probably whittle it down. And again, I didn't have to do anything but give them permission to use 2 of our lullaby songs on their website. All because they found us at Google. Sure enough, I emailed the lady. She's like, well, our budget is only $8,500. Is that okay? And I said, okay, sure. And so those opportunities, I don't talk about it to make myself sound great. I talk about it because you guys, again, have a rare opportunity that just did not exist. And so really spending time on internet marketing of how you can do your trade and find people that are interested in it is a huge opportunity. Yeah.
I wasn't here for it, but why didn't you, do you own your name, you and your brother's name?
Yeah.
So if I typed in your name, it would pop you up, or what?
Yes, you can type in O'Neill Brothers.
But if I only knew, like, if I saw you here and went to type your name, would it come up?
It would, yes.
Okay.
But the reason why we didn't use that for our URL,
Okay.
can anybody guess why we didn't do O'Neill
Hard to
Brothers?
spell.
Hard to spell, exactly.
Oh.
O-N-E-A-L, O-N, 1 L, 2 L's. So we did Piano Brothers because a lot of people might not remember our name.
Hey, Tim, could you pull up your website one more time? I want to point out something that if you don't
Sure.
mind, because I know we're going to be on an internet panel together tomorrow. We're probably not going to have any visuals, but one thing
Sure.
to point out for everybody's benefit that I really like about this, there's a lot of music websites that you go to, and if you're not familiar with the band, you have no idea what they are, or what they, unless the image somehow imparts what the music is about. And here, I love that tagline that you have: piano music to soothe and inspire. You pretty much spell it out for people. So if
But
someone,
they have no idea
yeah,
who we are. The other thing we do, which it only happens when you load it, let me try it again. If you notice in the upper left, we have these flying phrases. And for some reason, it only happens the first time, and this computer's already been to it. But we assume, like you said, that people have no idea who we are. So where Listen, Relax, Enjoy is it flashes #1 on the New Age chart, over 1 million CDs sold, played for U.S. presidents, just some different things that really create validity, so that people are like, wow, I don't know who they are, but it's a valid website. So yeah, the website design, and that's a whole different ballgame, which we'll be talking some about internet marketing tomorrow. But I mean, making a website is obviously a first step. once you know what you want to do and once you figure it out. But there's a lot of science into it because people in New Zealand or Germany or wherever, they're looking at one thing and that's what they're judging you by. They don't get to, see if you're a big label or a small label or you're whatever. It's just you have one time to impress them.
I see your title tag, which is, those of you may not know, at the very top of the browser window says listen free to piano music samples. I wonder if people find you just searching for like free piano music.
Yeah.
Which I wonder if that's very popular.
Yeah, it is, because a lot of people want free music, and on our site you can listen to free samples of all the different songs. Like this, I'll just say it, our website gets more traffic than BillyJoel.com and EltonJohn.com because we've done all this different search engine stuff. And one of the reasons I think is because of that. People are looking for free stuff on the internet. So we do the same thing on our wedding site, I think. Listen to wedding song samples. Oh, here it comes up. Can't decide, choose any 2 songs free just for visiting. So we just want to capture their name and address and whatever, so we give them 2 free downloads.
Wow.
And that little, if they're annoyed by it, they can just close it. But anyways, you can click on any of these songs. These are our 3 wedding CDs. And it'll play the sample for them, again, for free. Because I think you have to give them a free sample before they're going to buy. What I gauge my website by is what is Target doing, what is
Right.
Walmart doing.
Right.
Because they're the ones that have the multi-million-dollar team of people saying,
And
okay,
Amazon.
how do we make it friendly? Yeah, whatever the big sites are
Yeah.
doing, that everybody would, or many of them were going to the top, the
Yeah.
horizontal nav bar versus the
Right.
one on the left. So that's what
Oh,
we did.
really?
We totally changed our site because again, and there's different.
Yeah, usually most people in the book trade do both, over and side.
Sure, because a lot of people that have a lot of information
Yeah.
need multiple places, but we didn't
Right.
have a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Do you also sell your music on iTunes and all?
we do. That's a whole nother big thing that I'd love to talk about.
I mean, obviously you sell them yourselves. I assumed you'd make more, get your own cut.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, we'd be crazy to disregard iTunes and that opportunity. But yeah, we have a company in New York that gives our music to all iTunes and Napster and ringtones and everything else, and they take care of all that. We just send them the new CD or the new tracks, and then they push it out. But yeah, iTunes, I don't know if we're the #1 wedding CD on iTunes, but we're the #1 wedding CD on Amazon. If you go to Amazon on any given day, they're selling most of our CDs and probably the most downloads. But it's about 50-50 right now for our customer CDs to downloads, but in 3 or 4 years, I'm sure it'll, almost all be downloads, especially with 20 and 30 somethings.
Do you have a mailing list on your website to sign up?
We do. Whenever people, go through the wedding, go through the shopping cart, whatever they click on.
So you have to double click.
Yeah, you click once. We don't have just to join our mailing list
Yeah.
because we figure that if people are interested, especially now with downloads, that they'll spend at least 99 cents.
Oh, okay.
But once they purchase something, they're added to our mailing list.
Oh, okay.
That is one thing that I didn't mention on my list, but it's important to find out after you found out who enjoys your product or your talent to keep a list of those people, and we've been good at doing that. We now have about 70,000 people on our list because back in the horse barn I had a mail, sign up, and 12 ladies wrote down their name and address, and I'd go home and type them into a database knowing that when we came out with a new CD or a new tape, they'd be interested in it. So yeah, now everybody that buys from our website, which has all the different CDs broken down by category and whatever, as soon as like for 4th of July, we do a big thing with our patriotic music for all the veterans. We donated 1,000 CDs. Well, anybody that now comes and buys a patriotic CD, they're automatically added to our mailing list. Yep.
What do you feel about, somebody downloads one of your songs? I buy one of your CDs, and then I burn it for everybody else in here. You know what I mean? How does that, how does that affect you? How does that,
Sure.
what are your thoughts on that?
I'm kind of a split brain. Half my mind is musician, half is business. So the musician side would be, those bastards, what are they doing copying my music? And the business side of me would think, well, those 6 people probably would have never heard of us before, and we've got 29 other CDs to sell them if they're interested, or 450 songs. So you know what? Copy it for all your friends, because if they really like it, hopefully they'll at least buy something from us, or if they know someone that plays the piano, we have sheet music to all this. So if somebody wants to play, they can, if she likes the song so much and her granddaughter plays the piano or niece plays the piano, they'll buy sheet music. So I think it's just like no PR is bad PR. You can't say that all copying and burning is good, because if you make 1,000 copies, well then that's obviously a problem, you know. But if you make a few for your friends, I personally don't have a problem with it, because I think it's just exposure and getting things out there.
Yeah, I'm in the book business, and, you know, we can't track used book sales. You can't really, you don't get a no author gets a royalty out of a used book. But what it does do is build your audience.
Mm-hmm. So when you come up with the next brand new book,
Right, that's exactly.
so then that keeps
That's
you on
on
the
the
ball
ball,
if you're
yeah.
a writer, to keep
Yeah.
coming out with new books.
Yeah.
And that's why we've come out with 30 CDs, is because, well, people have the other 5, so we come out with a new one. And you got to keep coming up with something new, because recording might be a little different, where they come to you for a service, but, you know, maybe you could write a book on the do's and don'ts of recording once you know more about it. Just like Bob keeps updating his book every year or two, so that people keep buying the extra attachments. Or just like at Notre Dame, it's like business book 3.2. Well, next semester it's 3.3, so that the new students have to buy that new book. So you keep coming out with that new item. Yeah.
Are you on a label?
We're not. The label said no. The label said no, and the distributor said no. Everybody said no.
So how do you go about, you obviously have a vast quantity of albums, I mean, that's gotta be pretty hectic with.
Just with taking care of everything, you mean? Yeah, we now have about 8 employees that are, you know, one is shipping and one is
That's a full
bookkeeping.
number, so-
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean, but it all started with, you know, the JCPenney thing was crazy. I could handle it with one store, but when we got 5 Minneapolis stores, I had to hire my first employee because I couldn't physically do everything. So I hired a buddy who was a Notre Dame graduate that had a business degree, and he didn't know whether he should leave his job. But again, it started with just one person who did everything from answering phones to sticking stamps to whatever. And that's where, you know, sticking with it and doing the work yourself, you know, taking a risk long term means in the short term, there's a lot of compromises that you got to think about. But again, if it's what you love to do, it's like it's not even work. I mean, I'm thrilled to be here this weekend, and I go to Philadelphia and play for a wedding next weekend, and it's all just, it's fun because it's what we love to do.